to say this, and I'm not being braggadocious. I preferenced this in my last pod, that my pod is not just for Black people, it's for everybody. And I even know some people that don't identify with Black American that listen to my podcast and say, Dante, I love your content. So I'm going to keep things going strong, and I'm going to say this unapologetically, simply because it's just a thing that resonates deep down in my heart. And that is, my Black is so beautiful. And the things that I see, not from an eyeball test, but the look, see, and feel of certain environments, it's just a beautiful thing. And I'll be honest with you, there are dodos out there everywhere. And you guys have heard the cliche and the saying and the jargon. It only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch, pardon me. But sometimes you don't get to see the love part because the crime is what sells. It's the dramatic effect, right, that sells amongst Black people. Based on Black people being property, I mean, it goes way back into time where we were property, we were sold, we were given market shares or public market squares for our ability to have broad shoulders, a tight jawline, strong forearms, or hard-working hands, if you will, to be sold as property. But in addition to that, where we will put in certain places and were manipulated by certain terms and even books of spirituality and religion by deemed terms as to master and being obedient, and those narratives being flipped for our bad, which turned out for some of our good. But history had a chance to repeat itself, so sometimes we compete for spaces and it causes a lot of drama and tit for tat for some people. But I'll be honest with you, there's more love than crime in some of these situations, which leads to some all, but not just some, of systemic oppression in the Black community, which has that repetitive cycle that sometimes, unfortunately, we just see. But there are love stories, right? I'm not quoting or telling you something that I read in a book or I watched a video or a movie and witnessed and saw. No, I attended an event this weekend, VIP, I might add, to the Panthers that hosted the Maroon Tigers. What am I talking about? Clark Atlanta versus Morehouse, the Maroon Tigers, in a basketball game. It was a rivalry, right? So when you go to these HBCU situations, a lot of time you see funding not necessarily put in some of the places where we would deem acceptable. Sometimes it's really about keeping the lights on and taking care of that EBITDA for the bottom line and the sustainability of the HBCU experience and overall hierarchy and ethos in that particular system. So I'm talking about the gym size. It was very small, but I don't think that fazed any paid ticket, any alumni, any alum that attended, and anybody who was coming to spectate that game. It was so full of love. It was tight. It was intimate. But when I tell you, it was standing room only to cheer on either for Clark Atlanta Panthers or the Morehouse Maroon Tigers. And it was a ball game, right? It was a very, very tight ball game, but you would have thought this was already March Madness and people were giving good spirit and cheer for what they deemed to be their love for their alma mater. But there's nothing like an environment where you can go where I'm talking about the security and police are not there to harass, right? They're not there to sweep, but they are there to serve and protect you. They are there for crowd control. Now, as I digress, I can even talk to you about moments and times where I officiated games and you see certain local sheriff office, local police departments that show up in riot gear. And it's almost like they're looking for something to pop off, rightfully so. Let's consider Appalachia High School north of Atlanta with the Dodo situation that happened that year, or several situations that probably happened in your community at some of these games where that one bad apple ruined the bunch. But some of these security don't look like they're there to protect and serve. They're just looking like for the go light to get something to pop off, if you get what I'm saying. But at this event, you actually saw security with a smile on their face, but they were no nonsense when it came to crowd control. And yes, I felt safe. But as you're there witnessing and embedding yourself in the experience, there's nothing like looking over in the corner and seeing the DJ go crazy, or a timeout coming. You hear Wipe Me Down playing, right? Or you hear, man, I got that swag, my hat matching my bag. You know, I got that swag, and everybody's locked up and you swag, you surf. It's just a beautiful thing to see organizing, popping off in that place. Or the lovely ladies of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated get to step in, or the dignified and most unique and beautiful ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated, or the brothers of Q Psi Phi or Ka Psi or Sigmas. Let me tell you, I don't mean to disown anybody or not call anybody out for the sake of shout out, but anybody from the Divine Nine or any organizations that come and gather, and at that 5-minute break or that 3-minute break or that 30-minute break, oh, they're going to pop it off, or they're going to set it off, or they're going to get their stroll on, if you will. And then you have your spectators that just want to show love, adoration, and appreciation in that atmosphere. The cocoa butter was in full effect. The gear was in full effect. Heads was laid and down and laid in to the nines. I'm just telling you, it was a beautiful thing to witness. And if you've ever been in an HBCU setting, Get Geek, you guys know what it is. PPI, we got spirit. Yeah. It's just something that we embody with the love of our own. And I have to admit, it was just something to witness. But I was there with a purpose and duty. Number one, to have a good time. And secondly, I was there on the strength of brotherhood, mentorship, to actually witness greatness, and to actually chop it up with some brothers of mine. And I have a few shout outs, and I gotta admit, these cats, they some real ones. And I'll be honest with you, I gotta shout out my BLC brethrens. What going on, brethrens? And big ups to my man, Dr. E.C., right? Shout out to Kareem. What up, A-Dub? And I got to shout out the lovely Fab Five. And I say this all in the breath of them being, and along with myself, not too much on me, though. This is a point where I like to call out others, and these are people that I partner with. All in the spirit of them being unsung heroes. They don't go looking for cream. They don't go looking for clout that rules everything around them. They do it on the strength of mentorship, like myself, philanthropy, the love of our community, and ultimately, the bottom line, the give back. So salute to all HBCUs out there, and keep the dreams alive. There has been a lot of fighting for funding. So please keep your head up. I don't want to call out any institutions or universities, but one thing I will say is, believe it or not, those that are not in perimeter of where you are praying for you. And if there's anything we can do on a monetary level, we may not have all of the funds of a Jay-Z or Beyonce or Mark Zuckerberg or a Donald Trump. But I tell you what, we can give what we can for the sake of keeping things alive. So salute to you all. You guys know what it is. We're in the age of cancel culture, judged by the court of public opinion. And I'll be careful with my words, but just in case I drop a noun, an adjective, a pronoun, or even an expletive today. You guys know what it is. Don't hold me to it. I'm just here to pod. And of course, I am here to pod. After all, it is Black History Month. Again, the flavor, the notes, and the senses of my podcast are not just all things Black, but I cannot hide who I am nor the things that I love. So with that being said, how do we look at Black History Month in this setting, in this day and time? There's a lot of moving parts right now. And let me just stop real quick. Based on my last pod, I was on one. Right? I'm trying to have a calm tone because I think some people misunderstood my tone as check on me. My strength and plea and appeal was for us to not just keep our same circle of network, but yet reach out. There could be someone you haven't heard from in a while. Reach out to them. But the love, the support that I received based on what I put out, that energy, oh my gosh, it just made me feel so warm. But I am doing fine. And I do have to let you guys know this for those out there that may be struggling. And it's simply this: yea, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Back to my point, right? Does this nation still pay homage, or should I say reverence, for Black History Month, right? I gave you all the theme about African Americans, the history, and the labor, right? To point out accomplishments that we've had throughout the history. But it's time to acknowledge and honor the contributions of Black America throughout history. This is our time, right? It's all year round. It's 24/7. However, this is a month that was set out for us to acknowledge and celebrate some of these major, mild, small, big, no matter what it is, the accomplishment of Black people and Black history. But in a day and age where diversity, right, inclusion and equity, it may go away. Where you saw it at one point under certain circumstances, it may be dissolving. But some are considering, in our current campaign in the White House and down in Congress, are considering the term DEI a racial divide, and instead we're to be looked at as merit-based individuals. There's one thing I have to say to Mr. President. Have you ever heard of cultural biases? Which have caused so many of overly qualified Black people that have several forms of certifications, degrees, and knowledge to be merit-based. When it was time or an opportunity for those opportunities to be presented to the individuals, they were overlooked. You have individuals out with all the curriculum vitae stacked that are either pushing a broom or sitting at home on a bench wishing that they can get a job opportunity. So I want to keep the flag flying for the sake of Black History Month. And how about I point out some acknowledgments or some heroes that you may know of or forgotten about, or maybe even knew the history beyond one or two things. Keep in mind, when America catches a cold, Black people catches terminal possible flu, and it could be deadly. So with that being said, a lot of times throughout history, you have seen the overselling of the qualifications of Black men and Black women and the Black community. But I do want to highlight an individual today, if you don't mind. I want to acknowledge Mr. James Weldon Johnson, born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1871. He's an Atlanta University graduate in 1894, a civil rights activist and leader of the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People. You guys know it as NAACP. 1897, he became the first African-American to pass the bar in Florida. Now check this out. He has a lot of firsts, so rock with me on this. He was the first Black in Duval County to seek admission to seek the state bar, right? And he was the first African-American author to treat Harlem and Atlanta as subjects in his cross-genre novel titled The Autobiography and Ex-Colored Man. He was the first African-American professor to be hired at NYU, New York University. He was a professor of lit and writing at the Fisk University. Johnson distinguished himself in civil rights, diplomacy, education, journalism, law, literature, and music. A lot of hats to be worn, but he did it effortlessly. But one that I'm so proud of, and kicking off Black History Month, I acknowledge Mr. James Weldon Johnson simply because this is near and dear to my heart. I spoke the other pod about the pomp and circumstance that I love about our country, not his, not their country, our country, right? And some of the things just gives me chills just to see, because I just love the organization piece of it. I was a part of it. I don't know if you call that bias or just the fact that I know a little bit about some of the things that are done. So my interests are highly piqued and I'm actually looking to observe and not judge, right? But one that's most notable for me is the fact that Mr. Johnson, Mr. James Weldon Johnson, he was the writer for the lyrics of the song titled Lift Every Voice and Sing. And you know that song because we also know it as the Black National Anthem. I think that, let's put it like this. I challenge all of you out there who can hear the sound of my voice to take you a moment throughout the week and learn the lyrics of the song. It's quite chilling. It's quite eerie. But if you think about the day and time when it was written and the purpose for which it was written for, it's so much honor to be given during this song. And let me just remind you, when you do hear this song in a public setting, you are to take a stand. There's a certain part of the song that is a prayer, and it is delivered at a unique phase, and it just practically brings a tear to my eye. But I challenge all of you, if you haven't already, learn the lyrics to that song, or at least the first verse, stanza, or even the whole song, if you will. We don't have to perfect the singing, but if it's something that honor Black people, then I think that's something we should take serious. And I'll even take it a step further. Share it with your immediate family and possible friends. His brother went along to compose the song, along with him writing the song, Lift Every Voice and Sing. Speaking of which, let me go back to My Black is Beautiful with the Panthers versus the Maroon Tigers. The young lady that sung the national anthem. Oh my gosh. Again, when we talk about these unsung heroes and these untold stories that come from our community, I heard people literally sniffing when this girl was singing. Now, you guys know me, allergies, I'm just a sucker for them, right? But you could actually hear people sniffing as she was singing this song because she did it so distinctly. She took her time, but yet she didn't take all day, if you know what I mean. If you know, you know. But this young lady, right, she delivered it so to the point that I had to find her afterwards and say, hey, listen, you touched my heart. I've never heard that song sung like that. And you know, we've heard that song sung many a times, many of days. But in the spirit of Black history, I gotta say, did you all watch the Grammys the other day? And if so, what were your thoughts? It was so good. And this is my man. Again, sometimes I just have my TV faves, right? But I gotta give kudos to Trevor Noah. As a matter of fact, some of the prototype for this podcast was based on The Daily Show when he hosted it. And I wanted this platform to be of an entertainment form of The Daily Show in the heDONizm platform. But thank you, Trevor Noah, for delivering such a good job. It was so much to balance. It was so much to balance, including the horrific fires and wildfires in LA, right? So it was a nice blend, and also a ask for a digital collection plate to raise money. And I want to say they raised somewhere between $7 and $9 or $7 to $10 million, even during the live setting of the Grammys. And I think that QR code can still be reached at the Grammys website. I'm not sure, but I say start local. See if you have some of your local organizations that, like being the NAACP, maybe some of your local churches, or even reach out to some of your local friends who may be involved just a little bit more than you. And it's okay. Just reach out and say, hey, I want to give some contributions, whether they're big or small, and see if there's a pipeline that you can go through where we can let our hearts be felt all across the nation, all across the world, where we can go give back to LA. And just don't stop there. There's many different areas that need help, but right now, this particular area needs our help. So please pour into that as you will. But during the Grammys, it was so refreshing to hear Miss Paper Thin, MC Lyte, being the host, the literal host that you heard in the background on the lead up to the show, during the commercials of the show, at the closing of the show. She's hip hop. She's hip hop. And it's such an honor to hear her delivery, her vernacular, right? Her colloquialisms. And I'll just say that she kept it right in the pocket with announcing and actually giving you MC throughout the day. MC Lyte, do your thing, beautiful. Do your thing. My man, they not like us. They not like us. You think the West gonna let you disrespect Pac? Listen, let me tell you something. It was something that Drake and K.Dot, Drizzy and KungFu Kenny gave us during the battle. But one thing I will say, it got slightly ugly. It got slightly ugly, right? Some of it was fugly. And I'll be honest with you, there were lines being crossed, but in the spirit of hip hop, that being a sport, they were competitors. They were gladiators. Kendrick Lamar is not the biggest in stature, but I tell you, when he put his pen to paper, or at least his vocals to studio and or microphone, he delivers. Right? He's not the only one. I'll be honest. I think we're missing sight that Kendrick Lamar is not the only one. If Drake really wanted to get in his bag, he could slay still to this day. And I think we would accept his talents. But there's also some underlining things with record labels, with close friends girls, and things like that. In the words of I can't remember his name, but he did a lot of habitual line stepping during some of his tenure in being Drizzy Drake, or the growth of Drake, or the maturation of Drake, or Drake Mafia, or Mob Ties, or whatever you want to call it. But there are certain lines you don't cross, and this is what I'm hearing. I don't know this to be fact, so allegedly, we're hearing that Drake is a habitual line stepper and going above and beyond the dysphonics with some people. But K.Dot said, I just don't like you, when it came to battle rap. But where did that lead us? To the Grammys. K.Dot, I mean, you heard You heard him last night say, break out the broom. That's not a lie. They dropped 5 trophies, and 2 of those trophies were in the big 4 categories. Do you understand what it is to be an African American and compete in any market towards people who don't look like you? You're talking about having a seat at the table. You built the table that people want to sit at. But shout out and congratulations, Kendrick Lamar. I will say this, you put in the work and the work is starting to show, and we so look forward to the Super Bowl. You don't have to do too much. You don't have to do too much. We just want to see you perform, because I'll be honest with you, when Dre did the Super Bowl with Snoop, Fifth, Mary, M, and all the dancers who came out. I think Dot was there as well. I'm sorry. But they didn't have to do too much, but what they did was spectacular, right? We already know who's going to win the game. I really shouldn't say that because that's a biased take, but based on some of the previous games we've seen, Kansas City, I hate to say what the Little League coaches are saying, but hey, you can't beat the other team and the referees at the same time. So I feel like it's a fixed fight, and what a narrative it is to say that the NFL has had a team that has done a three-peat. So we will see, but more importantly, we're looking forward to that halftime. Miss Carter, lady, congratulations. Miss Beyonce Carter took home Country Album of the Year. Now, let me go back to what I just said about K.Dot. It is hard for anybody that looks like me to compete in a market where others are coming for your throat. And I just love the look of shock on her face when they announced her name. It was amazing. Going back to that last one, I can't remember if it was, I don't know, it was the best of something, but the presenter, oh my gosh, Diana Ross, you still look amazing. I'll say it again. The cocoa butter is in full effect. Dolce, oh my gosh, young lady, TDE, shout out to you guys. To me, TDE takes nothing but talent. You can't come to TDE half-stepping. You got to come with talent. You got to be a worker. It's obvious that their product of market that they put out are full of work factory, and I love it. Shout out to TDE. Shout out to Dolce, shout out to K.Dot. And of course, lastly, shout out to you, Miss Knowles, Alicia Keys, salute. I was loving all of it, of what I've saw. There was good representation of it. Will Smith, I'm glad that he did the tribute to Q, being that was his mentor as he came in as a executive director, right, to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But I've heard debates going around, did Janelle Monáe nail the performance for Michael Jackson? I don't know about you guys. This is subjective, but I will say this. When it comes to who we want to see do Mike, they're probably not here on this earth anymore. But there is one living human that dances and sings like he's inhumane. And that's old Chris Breezy. But for some odd reason, there's a stain on his record that we cannot get past. One thing that I will say, sometimes we have to separate the vessel. We have to separate the art from the vessel. We have to separate the art from the artist. Now, I know what you guys are saying. Trigger warning here. What he did to Rihanna was wrong. I agree. POS. POS. But one thing I will say is, has Rihanna forgiven him? Or can she not go public because of all the tyology that she have with her brands, her label, the people that associate with Rihanna? Fenty, what is it called? The the negligee line that she has. Will she lose all credibility if she goes, you know what, guys, I'm putting my stamp on this. You guys need to rock with Chris and let him do his thing. But you guys remember that performance where Chris Brown was doing a Michael Jackson tribute and he started crying? Let me tell you something. We've yet to get that full performance because we know this dude was a student of Michael Jackson University. So just conversations to take to your barbershops or in your corners, that's on you. Now, let me tighten this thing up and buckle up a little bit, guys, because I want to go into some conspiracy theories, and these are takes according to old Dante, Mechadon, Rick James. Why? Because I'm cold-blooded. But I'll be honest with you. I'm a little concerned about one of the conspiracy theories that I've seen in this 90 days in office. And I'm going to say I'm fast, and then I'm going to come back and say I'm quite slow so you can catch it. But RFK, JFK, and MLK. Robert F., John F., Martin Luther, King, Kennedy. RFK, JFK, MLK. That's 3 Ks, folks. Again, the tinfoil hat is on full effect. So I'm all for the Area 51 theories. And this one I don't like. Who asked him to do this? Or is this a plot on conspiracy to get him to expose not Robert and John F., but more so MLK, right? And one thing that I'm thinking is maybe this is conspiracy theory to expose some of the anomalies that we've heard of for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, i.e., things are being said about Dr. Martin Luther King needed a little shot, a little hen dog. I'm not saying that was the brand, but allegedly. Let's just say he wanted to wind down with a nightcap, and there may have been a little red wine. It may have been something to take him off the edge. But can you imagine the psyche that he had to wind down from, marching miles, right? Having objects thrown at him for the sake of peace. And there have been some alleged of infidelity. So is it Trump's plan, or is it the campaign's plan, right, to expose these documents for one reason and one reason only? Again, I got the tinfoil hat on with the conspiracy theories, Area 51. Is the plan here to devalue the works and efforts of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to remove MLK Day? Do you remember the debacle back in Arizona for MLK Day? They said, hell no, you're not getting our vote to make this a federal holiday. Not in this state, Arizona. Y'all remember that? P.E. made a song about it. By the time I get to Arizona, boom, boom. Y'all remember that? So is this all in the spirit and fun and ha-ha? Is this a ta-da factor to go, you know what? This ain't no drum major change. He wasn't no civil rights leader. This guy was this. He was this. He was this. He was this. He was this. You guys call that a leader in your community? So everybody can go, yeah, let's take this day off the calendar. Let's take this exposure off. Right? So other statues can be resurrected, and this one be taken down, and the holiday be removed from the calendar. We shall see. How about Juneteenth while we're on the topic before I move on? Could this possibly be a thing where it's out of here? Do we even acknowledge Juneteenth this year? Do you guys think it would even be a thing? I mean, we're talking about dissolving DEI. We're talking about exposing or declassifying the records of RJMLK. Juneteenth is probably out of here. I mean, what do you guys think? And even these slogans you keep seeing in the NFL, it takes all of us, end racism. Like, all of those were campaigns of DEI. I don't know, but I got a feeling their time is limited here in this space of change. And keep in mind, this campaign just started. But based on some of Mr. 47's attempts to threat others by way of signature on these dockets or these executive orders that he's been signing, he done went and tapped in on Canada and Mexico. Yeah. Canadian Prime Minister revealed he and Mexico's president agreed to work together to push back against Trump's long-awaited tax programs, which he claimed was aimed at halting the influx of drugs into the U.S. See, you're either one thing or you're a criminal. You're either one thing or you're a drug lord. You're either one thing or you're a gangster or a mafia, according to how he sees things. Oh, hold on, y'all. Canada got something to say.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. Like the American tariffs, our response will also be far-reaching and include everyday items such as American beer, wine, and bourbon, fruits and fruit juices, including orange juice, along with vegetables, perfume, clothing, and shoes. It'll include major consumer products like household appliances, furniture, and sports equipment, and materials like lumber and plastics, along with much, much more.
So guess what? Based on that, you got the U.S. going, we're going to hit them where it hurts. You got China saying, let me see you do it. Now we got one of our friendliest allies, our northern brothers and sisters, sitting on top of us going, that's how y'all want to rock? Watch this. And they clap back. So guess what we're in the middle of? A tariffs war. And guess who's going to benefit from that? The supply and demand. And I'm talking about things as local as nails, steel, wood. And guess where all of those things that I just mentioned are needed? In LA. It's time to rebuild. But how are we to rebuild on the low, on a budget, when tariffs are jacking up supplies that we will need from our northern border? It's going to affect us. I tell you what else is affecting us, but at the same time, it's making me think. So the activation is, and this was given by a local civil rights leader, I like to call him, in my community. I have respect for him. Do I follow the leader? I listen, and I make a conscious decision if I want to follow the activation. But it's about Target, or RJ, because the T's are silent. Remember all the cute things we used to do to make Target our own and call it one of the organized department stores, longest lasting department stores out there, with some of the ones that have closed, but yet we still have love and adoration for that little Target symbol. They even changed it from red to white, right? Trying to appease to those who are obsessed with consumer of supply and demand. Well, the appeal is for Target to get their funding back and organize it in a way so that we don't have to activate towards the supply and demand. And again, there is a website that referenced this. It's called targetfast.org. The word Target, FAST.org. Read up on it for more information. It makes sense to me because I'm at the point where not everybody knows how to organize and lead efforts on certain things. We just hear something and we just do it. You guys know what it is. You've been in an atmosphere before, right? Where you've seen a whole bunch of people running and you didn't ask, you just took off running. Why? We don't know. But a mile later, we found out that nobody knew. We all saw somebody running and we just cool in the gang. We just started rocking with them. But it's getting sticky. It's getting sticky. But Target has said, and they've put out a whole press media blitz saying that, hey, we didn't defund our DEI program. We repurposed it. Called Target on the Bullseye, or Bullseye on the Target. Something today there. But let me just share this with you. And this was a real thing. I'm talking look, see, and feel for me. So the day, February 1st, when people were talking about activating the boycott for some of the Fortune 100 companies, I had to go grocery shopping, right? So, I mean, let's call it what a TI is. I mean, I'm gonna keep it human with you guys, right? I'm gonna keep it a thou wow with you guys. We know if you go to Publix and you get 3 things, your bill is automatically $125 or $199 just for 3 items at Publix. But I will say we all fall victim to agreeing to pay the price because we get a lot of professionalism in that store. I'll be damned if the people in Publix don't still wear aprons like they did back in the old grocery store days, where not only did the guy help you shop, he checked out your stuff. And after he checked out your stuff, he gave you your receipt as he was loading your things up in your car. And you saw pressed pants, you saw a tie, and you got a handshake or you got a wink or something like that to that effect. But Publix still carries out some of those traditions that we yearn for, that fundamental success of a recipe, i.e. Chick-fil-A's fundamental success of their recipe, which is my pleasure. My pleasure. Man, y'all suck, man. I got little fries in here and I want more fries, and this little piece of chicken is garbage. Give me another piece of chicken. Oh my gosh, let me see that. I'll get you another piece. Hold on, pull around. What was that you had? Okay, a chicken sandwich and waffle fries? I'll be right back. Sir, here's 2 chicken sandwiches, 1 large fry, and you look like I'm going to say Powerade guy. So I brought you a Powerade and a bottle of water, and I got you a fruit cup on the side. And by the way, here's a little gift card simply because we didn't get it right the first time. Is everything okay with your order? Please check before you drive off. I didn't mean to go so gangster on you. No, it's okay, sir. We messed up your order. What? Thank you. My pleasure. And you drive off like, Lord, forgive me. But simple recipes to success. Listen, I was in Walmart, and I'll be honest with you. Sometimes Walmart has, depending on what kind of Walmart you got, right? I saw no bonnets in there. Y'all know what I'm talking about? If you know, you know. I saw no bonnets. I saw no pajamas, where I saw some pajamas, but I didn't see a certain demo in them. So I'm walking around and I'm like, okay, let me get this case of water. I know what I need. Let me go over here and get it. What's my dairy looking like? What's my produce looking like? What's my farming looking like? And I'll be honest with you, I had 3 things in my cart, and I looked around, and it was rather shy of those that identified or looked like me. So I left my cart and I went to Publix. I'm out. The first of the month, empty Walmart. Listen, I'm going to get out of here with a little fugazi. And this thing kind of, sort of, not really, no, it pissed me off. The last time I talked to you guys about a gentleman named Tom McDonald. Sounds like a politician name, right? No, this dude is a rapper, right? Quite buffoonery, if you ask me. But can he rap? That's subjective. Does he have talent? The verdict is still out. Does he know how to imitate culture? I would say yes. Is he a culture vulture? I would say yes. So it's hard to just see talent. It's hard to just see bars. It's hard to just see cadence when you are making 2 things rhyme over a hot beat to say that you have skills. Some people do it for the sake of propaganda. It's just too much propaganda tied to what he does as a quote unquote rapper that makes me say he's nice like that. Because some of the things he does are divisive when it comes to him being a rapper. And I don't think you're standing on being a rapper. I think you're standing on an agenda as a rapper. The look, see, and feel of what you're trying to sell is a rapper. But Tom McDonald, known for tightroping some of his content. He did a flag a while back. He did a song, a while back called American Flag, right? Where one may go, man, that's tight. And I'll be honest with you, looking at the reaction of some black people who are going and saying, man, this song is tight. This dude can rap. He got bars. He can spit. Oh, man, this is hidden. Sometimes y'all are just listening to the beat. and you don't give a damn, or you're not trying to process what's being said. You just hear the boom, the boom, boom, the boom, 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 boom. That's all you hear. And you're calling it a tight song. Listen, if all I did for a living was create rhetoric to sell, I'll be a millionaire. Some people are not willing to just fall for anything. They're willing to stand for something. But anyway, let me get on with the Fugazi. He's known for tight roping with his lyrical content. And I say it again, I think he does it for cream, which is strictly clout and content. His lyrics are edgy. You go look at it yourself. You'll see why. But he did a collab with Roseanne Barr. Yes, Roseanne Barr. Right? The high-pitched, most annoying voice, Roseanne Barr. And it was a point where we found her to be quite entertaining and amusing with her show. Some did, some didn't. Right? It's almost like you can rock with a person up until the point of when they show you, right? And as the old saints and old folks would say, when someone shows you who they are, believe it. Well, it's no exception for Roseanne Barr. I mean, this woman, pardon me, but this Caucasian woman, I don't know what she identified with past Caucasian. I don't know what she's mixed with, if she's just pure Caucasian. But she's got box braids. She's twerking. She's looking mad ridiculous out there. And just so happened now you want to drop this collaboration track with this dude. It's basically a diss track. What did diss tracks do for Rick Ross last year? J. Cole last year? And can I mention the big two? What did it do for Jay-Z and Nas? What did it do for LL and Kool Moe Dee? What did it do for Third Base and MC Hammer? I can go on and on. What did it do to Roxanne Shante and UTFO? By the way, congratulations, Roxanne Shante. You deserve it. Kudos. Salute. And they didn't show it, and I was a little tight about that. But at the end of the day, we know you got it. Congratulations. But back to this. We know what the diss track did, and I think a lot of people are trying to ride off the wave of what Drizzy did with KungFu Kenny. I guess you're thinking that, hey, somebody's going to come and do a rebut. I don't know. But from the look, see, and feel of you and what Roseanne did, it was very performative. It was a mockery. And it was minstrel show. To me. Reverse, but still was the same thing. To each his own, I guess, right? Right? But I do have to ask, what message were you trying to sell? And let's go back to Byron Donald where he said,
out again around the world, they're going to be like, this is the stability that we were asking for. Daddy's back. And that's what you're going to see.
So you just touched on it. Yeah. Is tomorrow the deportations are going to start or the repatriations are going to start?
Repatriations are going to start tomorrow.
Is that what we're going to call it?
That's what they are. People have to be able to go back home.
And I'll say this, it's not just a certain demo now saying we rock with old Don Teasy, we rock with 47. No, it's people who look just like me who say that. Now, let me just say this for the record. I've never been here to persuade what you should believe in. I've never been here to persuade who you should vote for, but I am saying you should vote. But I am saying you should stand for something, right? But I will say this. I don't think anyone should be president who doesn't have respect for their country, who doesn't carry themselves in a presidential decorum, right? Anyone who doesn't show love and adoration for their country other than saying it's about me, my agenda. Just something to think about. But we're in the age of cancel culture judged by the court of public opinion. And today I tried to be careful with my words. I don't think I went too hard on the expletives, but whatever it is, you guys know what it is. I'm just here to pod.